Kelsey Robinson-Cook, Olympic gold medalist and co-owner of League One Volleyball San Francisco. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So League One Volleyball, relatively speaking, is kind of still in its professional infancy here as a sports league. I'm wondering, how would you evaluate how it's done so far and where it is in the volleyball landscape?
I mean, from year one to year two already, we've seen an immense jump in just the first year. You have all of the things that come with the first year and trying to solve all those problems. And really, year two has been wonderful to see how it's progressed. Even from an athlete's perspective, giving feedback to what we've wanted from year one to year two, they've listened, they've applied it. And I just think this league, it's still a startup. However, I think we're going to be the model for success down the road just because it's really athlete-centered.
In the pro volleyball landscape, there's a fair amount of competition. League One Volleyball isn't alone, but I'm wondering from your perspective, what you see in League One Volleyball that's going to allow it to kind of maintain its position and outlast others.
Yeah, I think it goes back to being an athlete-centered league. They have listened to us from the very beginning. We created a council of athletes to give feedback, to talk about, what worked, what hasn't worked, what we want. And they've built this league on that foundation, and they continue to work with the athletes hand in hand. And so I think that is just going to be something that makes this league successful.
I'm wondering if you can kind of walk me through more your experience as a pro athlete in this league. What's it like on game day? What's it like traveling? How is it night to night? What does that look like?
I think it's super professional. I've had wonderful experiences overseas, but I think something that American sports does really well is that professionalism. You have like the great gyms, the great accommodations, the sponsorships, all the things, and so you're really treated. I don't know, just things I haven't had in a really long time, and I forget like that's what it's about to play in America. And we have high quality coaches, staff, people in this league that bring unique perspectives, and so it's been wonderful to be a part of.
I want to get the inside story of how you became a part of the ownership group for the San Francisco franchise. Obviously, stacked ownership group, wondering how they brought you into the fold and what that process looked like.
So I've been with League One since 2020, helping to build this thing. And something I said, being from Northern California, was that if a Northern California team ever came to be, that I would want to be involved somehow. Owner, whatever, didn't matter. I just want to be involved. Originally thinking it would be, 10 years down the road, and got a call in October that asked if I could come join kind of like a meeting of minds, and dropped everything I was going to do that day and joined. And it's been evolving ever since. So I've really been in it from the start and didn't know what that necessarily looked like. I just knew I wanted to build this team. And then eventually the ownership piece of it kind of fell into place.
We're obviously in this age of the athlete investor where more and more athletes are doing things off the court, off the field. They're getting involved with companies, leagues, franchises, all different ways. I'm wondering, kind of knowing this and kind of knowing that you're more than just an athlete, how do you think about investment opportunities and whether it's, investing in, a League One Volleyball franchise or something else altogether?
I think it's super important. When you can be an investor and have buy-in to this, what you're building and what you're creating, it makes you want this thing to be so successful because you're a part of it. And if we can get more athletes to be owners in the league and have a stake to build this thing, that's to me what's ultimately going to create success. I think for so long, athletes, our voice isn't heard. We're just go out and play, just go out and win. And that's it. And when you can't win, we're done. And now it's, let's build this thing with them. Let's create a space where athletes can do so much more. And I think you're seeing it pay off because we're so multifaceted, but until we're given the chance, the door hasn't always been open, especially for females in sport.
Whether it's, a League One Volleyball franchise or any sort of other company, what value do you think you bring as an investor? Like, what are your strengths that you can come in and whether immediately or long-term, help them accomplish?
Yeah, I think originally going to the meeting, I definitely had imposter syndrome because, I am an athlete that has done a lot of things outside of my sport, but didn't feel that I was up to par to really be at the table with so many incredible minds. And then once there, I realized we're all speaking the same language. I just might know it a little differently. And the one thing I learned is that I bring a value that somebody else doesn't. I I know how to work with teams. I know how to work with people that maybe I don't agree with, right? And how to build success. And those are skills and assets that can help in any environment.
So we've seen kind of the crazy attendance numbers at the college level for women's volleyball. We're in the midst of this broader women's sports boom. I'm wondering, what is it going to take for volleyball to have its critical mass moment where it does break through? Because if you think about it, the American sports landscape is very crowded. You've got major leagues in both men's and women's sports, and volleyball hasn't necessarily cracked that cultural zeitgeist yet. So what will it take for that cultural moment for volleyball to come through?
Well, I think we really haven't been given the chances to do that until recently, right? And so it hasn't cracked the door because we have just gotten started. And then I would say, I mean, you see with like the WNBA, you see Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, like they have that fandom that comes from the social media generation and stuff, and they have really accelerated the WNBA in views. And I think we're going to start seeing that with volleyball. We have so many athletes coming out of college with those fan bases, and I think that's just going to be the thing that pushes it through the door.
What do you think of kind of where the college game is at right now? I mean, again, that's driving a lot of the interest in women's volleyball, but I'm wondering kind of your assessment of that outside of the pros.
I think one of the hardest parts about the college game is the rules are different. And so it's just a different style of play because of that. But because volleyball has grown so much, the physicality and the level has also grown with it. And so you're seeing a lot of athletes that can come out now and play professionally or go right to the national team, which before that wasn't necessarily the case. And then I think it'll just grow together in tandem. I'm really excited for the outlook of our league and the outlook of our sport. It's the number one youth women's team sport being played. And so we're just at the very beginning. I think this thing in 10 years is going to be the sport. Yeah.
Before I let you go, I have to ask about the Olympics. What are your expectations for 2028? What's it going to take for the U.S. to win gold?
Ooh, in women's professional international volleyball, there's so many countries that are so good and have a legitimate shot at gold. I think the one thing that the U.S. has is we are so deep. We have so many incredible athletes playing this sport, and we have so many weapons to choose from. So, I think gold is on the horizon, but I don't want to jinx anything.
Kelsey Robinson-Cook, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.